Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'll be using this stamp set here from Pink and Maine. It's called Timber. We'll be using the stencil from Tim Holtz, some distress inks, these two little brad trees. I've got all my little panels all cut down. So today's card is a waterfall card. This is a design team project for Scrapping for Less. If you are interested in this stamp set, you can head on over to their website and pick it up there. I will leave a link in the description below. So first thing I'm going to do is work on my front card panel. So this stencil doesn't quite fit the whole front panel, so I do move it over to one side, and I'm going to have to at one point bring it over and line it up on the other side. The distress ink I'm using today, I'm using Walnut Stain and Vintage Photo. So I am using the Walnut Stain here to draw the wood grain lines, or to ink blend the wood grain lines onto this piece of watercolor paper. For me, I find using watercolor paper helps the inks blend just a little bit better. Some people use all different kinds of paper, but I happen to really like using the watercolor. So once I have my lines all done, I'm just going to go over the whole panel with some Vintage Photo. Once that's all done, I'm going to go ahead and put that all aside. I'm not wiping that mat because I'm actually going to use it for something in a little bit. So that's all set, put that aside to dry, and now I'm going to go ahead and stamp my images. So from the stamp set, I'm using the like the bearded face stamp, the lumberjack, that's what I call him, you know, with his little suspenders, and I'm using this sentiment, I beard it's your birthday, or I'm not sure it's supposed to be like a play on like I heard it was your birthday, but I just can't say bird, like it just doesn't sound right. So I beard it's your birthday is how I say that particular sentiment. So I have my little 4 bearded faces set. I'm going to go ahead and put those aside. I'm going to stamp our little lumberjack here. He is going to be on the inside of my card. So I'm also using the Memento Tuxedo ink to stamp that sentiment. So let's go ahead and do some Copic coloring. I do try to put the colors of the marker in the shot for you, so you know what colors I am using. I think a couple of them, the caps end up being off screen. But if you have any questions, you know, you can just let me know. You can definitely color this any way that you want using the colors that you have. So I've got his skin tone all done. I'm using 2 different reds for his little checkered shirt. I'm using an R29 and I'm coming in with an R59. And I'm just kind of making like little dots in there, and you can kind of see the white space. So then I'm just grabbing my W0 marker and just filling that all in to kind of like hide those white spots. But I didn't want to play around with the reds too much, so I didn't want them to bleed into one another. So just using some different color greens for his pants. And again, this is where the markers kind of get out of the camera. So I'll try to leave the colors of those in the description below. Now the green bled a little bit on his pants. I did try to use the colorless blender to kind of push that ink back into his pants, but that didn't really work. So I will come in with a white gel pen when this is all dry and just kind of cover up where that green marker bled. Working on his facial hair, I didn't really have a dark enough brown for the colors I was using, so I just kind of came in with a C5 and used that to darken the areas I wanted to be darker. So I'm coloring all 4 of these faces to be the same. I thought about trying to make them all different, but I just don't have enough different shades. So I opted to just kind of keep them all the same. So we're going over the same skin tone colors that I used on the inside and using the same browns for the hair. You could definitely color these any way you want. So just laying down, I believe this is E15, just laying down an entire base of that. Then I'm using this E18 to just kind of outline where I want it to be darker, and going in again with that E15. So here I'm bringing my mat back in because I wanted to add just a little bit of distress to these little panels so they weren't so white. And so I was able to just kind of grab the ink from my card panel and just kind of use that to dull up the white on those bearded face pieces, if that makes sense. Of course, scoring my card base. And now we need to make our waterfall piece. This piece is 2 inches by 9 inches. I will leave in the description how long to cut that piece and where to make those score lines so that it works like a little waterfall. So now I'm just going to go ahead and adhere my inside piece. And then I'm going to work on that front panel and make sure my waterfall piece works. So for this little piece where the waterfall like has a little tab that goes below it, you only want adhesive on each side. So as I showed there, like just on those sides. You don't want to adhere anywhere else. Then I am using these tree brads. They just kind of go great with the card that I'm making, but also they just add a little bit extra support where the adhesive is so that that piece stays in place. Since you're only putting adhesive on those 2 little ends, it just adds a little bit of extra support, but also adds a fun decorative detail. So I'm going to go ahead and put those in. And I'm sorry I go off camera with that. I was using a little hole puncher, and the card kind of sits a little bit too far away for me to be able to see exactly where I wanted to punch that. So I am using some foam tape because I'm using the brads and they kind of add that little bit of dimension a little bit on the back. So I'm using foam tape so that it won't, I don't know what the word is I'm looking for, just so it lays flat on the card. So once I have that part done, I'm going to go ahead and get this piece adhered for the waterfall part. And on here, everywhere there's a score line, we're going to add one of our little bearded friends, but you're only taping the very top. You're not adhering this whole piece. So you just want a little bit of adhesive right up at the top there. And you want to put it just below your score line. So not right up top close to it, because you still want that paper still needs to bend. So just underneath it. So I'm going to go ahead and adhere all these little faces down, and I noticed there I did the wrong side. So I'm just going to use my finger and rub that adhesive off and finish putting all 4 of my face pieces down. And then to adhere this here, we are only using a little bit of adhesive right here, like where it's going to lay on that top black piece that's being held down with the trees. And then when I pull that piece, that black piece down, the little pieces move and you have that like waterfall effect. So now that I know my little waterfall piece works, I'm going to go ahead and adhere the whole thing down to my card base. And there you have it, a masculine waterfall birthday card for that bearded man in your life. I know exactly who's getting this one. So thank you so very much for joining me today. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more, hit that subscribe button. But until next time, bye.